issues that you don't like from someone you might not like. This is the burning issue on the happy world of 5FM Radio. Your participation is important.
A wonderful good morning to you all listening to the Happy World of 5FM Radio here on 89.9 in Lusaka. And also don't forget that we are live on our partner media houses, and the following are carrying this program live on their platforms: BMTV Zambia here in Lusaka, both on their Facebook page and live on TV. You can look out for them. They are on Top Star Channel 114. We are also live in Katete on Katete FM, literally covering the entire Eastern Province, and that is on 103.3 FM. Live also in Central Province, Kawe to be precise, is Spice FM, and Spice FM is on 91.1, and also in Central Province in Kapiri is ZFM, and ZFM is on 100.3 FM, and Platinum Radio in Ndola live on 99.7, covering the rest of the Copper Belt. We are live on Tuta FM in Mansa, covering Rapula Province on 90.7. And not forgetting, we are also live on Isunga Radio in Senga Hill to be precise, in Northern Province, and that is on 88.3. Not forget, we are live also on our Facebook page, and that's 5FM Radio Zambia. Later on in the course of the program, I'll give you, our listener, an opportunity to call in and interact with our guest. And I'm your host, Zachariah Banda. Now, our guest today is a renowned lawyer, politician, and, of course, party president of the Economic Front Party, Mr. Wynter Kabimba, State Council and ODS. It's always a pleasure to have you in the studio, and it's a pleasure to see you.
Thank you, Zach, for inviting us to this program.
How is Economic Front Party?
We are fine. We are fine. Thank you.
Yeah. But the big question is, we haven't heard about your filing in for you to participate in the August 2026 general election.
There is some contingency at play. We had a central committee meeting 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And we discussed the issue of our participation in this year's elections.
Right.
And the central committee put certain conditions which I can't disclose here now until the variables are clear, and said to me, when that time comes, then you should inform the nation. So we discussed, and we had the central committee meeting, which was well attended by our provincial officials and other officials. So we are on course. Don't worry, we shall let you know.
Well, when you say on course, is it positive?
It's positive, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's positive.
Positive means you are probably participating in this general
That's what it means.
Yeah. Well, that said, we appreciate your response, and of course, we will be patient enough to wait to hear from you. However, the burning issues, couple of them that we have, on top of everything else, is the outgoing ambassador, that is a U.S. ambassador to Zambia, Gonzalez, and he obviously made remarks. And these remarks were really controversial after, because it borders on diplomacy versus sovereignty. And do you see his comments as constructive diplomacy or unacceptable interference in Zambia's internal affairs?
I always want to confess what I don't know as against what I know. I've never been a diplomat. So I don't know the fundamentals and the rules of diplomacy.
Right.
So I leave that to the people that are qualified in that area. I watched the speech, the press briefing, I think by the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs last evening.
Right.
During which he was canvassing the Gonzalez issue.
Right.
And obviously he was as diplomatic as one could be as a government officer. But you ask the question, is this about diplomacy? Is this about sovereignty?
Mm-hmm.
The truth of the matter is this, that the developed countries, those who colonized us, and those that are partners to our former colonizers, have never accepted the fact that we are a sovereign nation. Never. If we believe that, then we are deluding ourselves. They have always considered us, Zach, as their vassal states, that we are actually part of America, that we are part of Britain, that we are part of France. That is an attitude issue, irrespective of the international rules that you can cite, Geneva Convention, and everything else. For them, this is an attitude issue. The attitude they take is this, that we allowed you to have political independence, but we also did not allow you to have economic independence. And for as long as you continue being dependent on us, you can't call yourselves a sovereign state. Okay? Let me give you this incident here. In 2013, I think it was. No, 2014. Because I remember that meeting was after Russia annexed Crimea. We had a meeting at the Pamoz Hotel, and present in that meeting was Hari Kalaba then as Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Yeah.
There was also Dr. Katema, who was Minister of Community Development then. There was myself. There was the then French ambassador, a lady, I can't remember her name. There was the German ambassador, being a good number of European Union ambassadors. And during that meeting, it was the time, if you remember, Zach, when those two Kapiri young men were being prosecuted for homosexuality.
That's right.
And the French ambassador picked up this issue and asked us, as ministers from government, what we thought about that. And my response to her was that homosexuality was an offense in Zambia. It's still criminalized. Not that we passed the law ourselves. It was left by the British. So we inherited that law, and it has not been amended or repealed.
Right.
So I said, because of that, when somebody breaks the law, they must obviously answer for that transgression. And what is going on with this prosecution is not supposed to surprise you. Here was her response. Her response was, do you know that this can affect the bilateral relations between France and Zambia? Okay? So for as long as it suits France, for as long as France has moved away from a criminalized homosexual movement to a legal one, in a matter where, when the matter went before Parliament in France on same-sexual marriages, the French Parliament was actually divided into half. I think the motion passed by something like 5 votes. in parliament. So the French society was divided whether or not same-sex marriages should be allowed to take place in France. But here is an ambassador who said to us, as ministers of government, with all the arrogance under the sun, that if those Kapiri boys were going to be convicted, or much earlier than that the arrest of those Kapiri boys was against the values of France. And we should therefore measure this society or see ourselves using the French mirror. My response was very candid. I don't know if Harry Kalaba remembers that incident. I told her, if that is your position about the bilateral relationship, keep your money, was my response. I said, keep your money. And I went further, and I said, what you have said and what I've said to you, I'm going to report to President Sata. And I'll tell him exactly what I've said to you, that I've said to you, keep your money. I'm giving an example of this incident to show that this is not only about France. This was not just the attitude about the French ambassador then. This is the thinking and the attitude shared by the so-called cooperating partners. Gonzalez is a very junior officer at the State Department. Very junior. He's going back now. If he went back to the State Department, I don't know how many times he would have audience with the Secretary of State. Because he's very junior. Here in Zambia, the position of ambassador or high commissioner in the civil service is actually under secretary. It's not even deputy PS, unless it has changed. So a diplomat, Zambian diplomat, reports to the PS at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But Gonzalez has internalized this attitude, which is common, going by the example that I've just cited.
Right.
That he is so powerful that he can come to this country, call us names, call the president names, even he has the nerve to say what the Zambian government needs is a leadership of integrity. Oh, I can tell you that if that's what it means, then he should first lecture that to his people. There is no integrity in a government that goes around the world bombing innocent people. There is no integrity in a government that goes around abducting elected heads of state of another country. There is no integrity in a government that is today bombing Iran, demanding a regime change, which the Iranians don't want. So, I'm happy that the government came up with a response. Extremely measured though, but I think Mr. Gonzalez needs to hear this from other citizens. That when the Americans won their war of independence against the British in 1775, they rejected everything that was British. They don't drink tea because tea carries a British identity. They don't drive on the left because it reminds them of the British colonial era. So they decided to drive on the right. They didn't pick the institutions of Britain. They went back to the institutional structure of the Roman Empire, the House of Representatives, the Senate, because they didn't want anything that reminded them of the British. But today, for the money that Zambia receives, we should actually be at the beck and call of the cooperating partner. Let me tell you another example. I want to be very factual. In 2013, I think it was, during the Kazungula tender processing or evaluation, if you remember.
The Kazungula Bridge.
The Kazungula Bridge. Tender evaluation.
Right.
One of the companies that was listed there was the Dow, the Japanese company. Okay? I remember a meeting that was held at the Ministry of Works and Supply. And Yamfamukanga was the minister then. And present in that meeting was Bachikwanda. And I was in that meeting. And a few officials from the ministry. We got information from the Minister of Works and Supply that the Japanese had insisted that if the contract does not go to Dow, they are not putting in their money in the Kazungula Bridge project. But Dow was not the cheapest. So it couldn't get the contract. Isn't that corruption? Which they lecture to us. So we told Yamfamukanga, go and tell them to keep their money. And when Mr. Sata came back, I went to brief him. And he was of the same view. So they play double standards with us. Okay? Glencore was indicted in America after 10 years of investigations of corrupting people across the world. Isn't that corruption? But you see, they take advantage of us because we don't read. They take advantage, of us because we don't follow world events. We are so busy with making money as against obtaining knowledge. So when Gonzalez is addressing a press briefing like that, and interestingly, he's flanked by some of our citizens. He's flanked by some of our citizens. I found that shocking. That a man who is demeaning you, because by demeaning HH is demeaning all of us. By demeaning this government is demeaning all of us. By attacking the sovereignty of this country is attacking all of us. How do you go and flank that man? I wouldn't myself. So I've given you these examples to show that we are still not respected by the Western world. And we are not respected because we are their beck and call, because we go around to their capitals with the bow in hand, kupempa ndarama. We are poor people. They even decide, who is poor and who is not poor. I was laughing when I watched a video clip by President Ruto of Kenya, bragging that Kenya is now a middle-income country with 20,000 kilometers of paved roads. And it was not like Tanzania, it was not like other, Who told Kenya that it's a middle-income country? The Western world. Okay? the Western world. So they use even these benchmarks, these tags to divide and rule. So Ruto is very proud that he is not like Zambia. And yet, we are still the same, basically. What is the difference between Kenya and Zambia? Basically nothing. So I'm happy that we have started this program with with this issue of Gonzalez.
But the issue here is Gonzalez raised very pertinent issues.
Yes.
Very things that are visible.
Okay.
Right? And we can't shoot down everything because
No.
some of them, they need the attention of the government.
Okay.
The pace at which the government probably works on some of these things and the transparency around some of the issues raised, it's clear that there has not been political will over them. And so the big question is, if foreign diplomats are openly criticizing governance, doesn't that signal a failure of local accountability systems?
Look, there is the issues that Gonzalez raises may be salient. They may be important.
Right.
But let me first put it this way. That, firstly, as a diplomat, I think there are diplomatic channels of raising concerns over issues. Okay? He said, I think that I've been engaging government, over these matters, especially issues relating to the Ministry of Health. Okay? And he says that, like you put it, there is no transparency. And governance demands transparency. Now, I'm not in government and I'm not defending government. I'm dealing with the issue of Zambia as a sovereign nation and how it must be respected. Now, let me say this, that if the issue here is corruption, and I want you to understand me, if the issue here is corruption, the United States has supported some of the most corrupt regimes in this world. And the history is there. Go to the history of Iran. The Shah of Iran was one of the most corrupt leaders that Iran has ever had. But the Americans supported him all the way until 1979 when he was ousted in that revolution by Khomeini. In Nicaragua, the monarch that was there before was one of the most corrupt in the world. Batista in Cuba, he was one of the most corrupt fellows, running drug cartels for which today they are accusing Maduro. Okay? Mobutu was the most corrupt African leader that we ever had on this continent. But he was supported by the United States until he was overthrown by the people through Kabila, not by the Americans. Now, if that is true, which it is, and history is witness to that, what then is the problem here? Let me tell you what the problem is. I wrote a piece about 2-3 months ago that the problem here is not even about corruption. The problem here is the relationship that HH is developing with the Chinese. That is the problem. That is the problem. Immediately, HH started meeting Chinese delegations. He went to China on a state visit and came back. The Americans have been riled by that. Because they don't like the Chinese, we should also not like the Chinese. So they should dictate to us even who our friends should be, who should come and have dinner in my house. That is the issue here. And if you skate that issue, then you are not dealing with the truth. Yes, there is corruption. like in every other society. It's not peculiar to Zambia. But for an American diplomat to hold a press conference, surely there is more than what meets the eye, to use the English adage. And for me, who takes time to understand these things, for me who is not excited by sitting next to a Muzungu and seek validation from them, I know where the problem is. The problem is China. Let's be truthful. Nothing else. The problem here is China. If HH were not gravitating towards the Chinese, he could be as corrupt as anybody on this planet. They will not raise the red flag. They will not. That's the point.
What is your interpretation of the fact that the video of Gonzalez's farewell speech has been put down from the embassy's Facebook page?
Oh, they did that.
Yes, they did.
They did that. Let me tell you, another incident. In 2013, I was Minister of Justice. The American embassy here wrote a damning report about Zambia's human rights abuses. 1 year into the office of Michael Sata. And I remember the American ambassador, Mark Storella, bringing a copy to me and saying that this report has gone to Congress. We have submitted it to Congress to show the Congress how you guys, meaning us in the PF then, have engaged yourselves in human rights abuses. Zach, I got a report. I read through it. I went to Mr. Sata and I said to him, here is a report from the American embassy. Would you allow me to go and study it and draft a response? And Mr. Sata said, yeah, go ahead. So I went back, sat in my study, 2 long nights, and I responded to that report paragraph by paragraph. So I put the allegation and I put the response. Picked out the allegation and put the response. I put an advert of that response in the Post newspaper, I remember. The information I got later was that my response was sent to the State Department, but it was doctored. So I'm not surprised that they have put down Gonzalez's speech. So even this statement from the Minister of Foreign Affairs,
yeah,
that we are trying to find out whether you're speaking in his personal capacity or you're speaking on behalf of the American government, is neither here nor there. It's irrelevant to me in what capacity he spoke. What is important is the substance of his speech. That's what is important. He was mischievous, whether as an individual or a representative of the American government in Zambia. That's my view. So they've put it down because they've seen some mischief in it. Okay? But I've given you an example. They've done it before.
My guest this morning on the Tuesday edition of The Burning Issue is Mr. Wynter Kabimba, president of the Economic Front Party. He is a state council and, of course, ODS. And I know that your political party stands strong on the fight against corruption, yes, because you believe the economy can only thrive or indeed grow once you curb corruption. And that's the reason why we needed your views on the fact that a number of corrupt or corruption allegations were raised by Gonzalez, and we needed your view strongly on it. But also, you are critical on some of these things to do with same-sex relationships or indeed marriage. And so others have foresee your government to be a very critical government, especially that it would be led by yourself, who is very strong in some of these issues. And the fact that that's how you are described, I believe you will tell me that the cancellation of what has been seen as one of the world's biggest global human rights and technology conference that this government has decided to cancel, citing reasons as to safeguard morals of this country. This has also raised issues to say, is it morality of this country or economic opportunity that is being missed? Do you support that decision, however, or do you see it as a missed economic and diplomatic opportunity?
Which conference is this? I've heard
it's a conference on global human rights and technology conference. But
so what does that to do with the morality?
I know that there is a government official who posted on a Facebook page, an advisor to the president for that matter, that yes, we have decided to cancel this conference because, and quote in quote, he uses the word, the Yakumbuya conference.
Yeah, let me say this, Zach, that sometimes I have difficulties, following statements from the UPND as a government. The first thing that really I'm not sure about is the multiplicity of power centers, especially in terms of communication in the UPND. Okay? So, like in this case, I'm not sure if the issue of human rights includes a panel discussion, for example, on homosexuality. But let's assume that it did. Let's assume that it did. What is wrong with the people sitting? We have a gay movement in Zambia, though underground. Okay? Those involved in homosexuality in Zambia, because they know that it is still criminalized, they do it under cover of darkness. But for me, I would not have a problem. I would not have a problem with anybody coming into Zambia to come and discuss that topic. In fact, if anything, it would give me an opportunity to put Zambia's position clearly to the international community. Because then you would have an official response that Zambia, being a Christian nation, which to me should not be the only reason, even aside from being a Christian nation, it is still wrong culturally for us. So we miss an opportunity to put our viewpoint across to the larger majority. Okay? Yes, in other countries, like I've given an example earlier about the incident with the French ambassador, this is a human right. And I know even under the UN, it has been recognized as a human right because of the pressure from Western countries who have moved away from the criminalization of homosexuality. So what they are saying to us is, if it is good for the UK, it must be good for you in Zambia. If it is good for America, it must be good for you, you guys in Zambia. So I wouldn't cancel the conference myself. I would actually allow them to come and send my team there to go and put the position across. That's what I would do. Because refusing or rather, taking away an opportunity which is supposed to save you to make your point clear works against you. So I've seen, colleagues in the opposition, really hammering this decision. Because you have a bad human rights record. That's why you didn't want the conference, to come, or my view is that the conference should have been allowed to take place, and the government should have been able to, together with other participants, participated in putting our viewpoint across. Yeah.
What message in this case does cancelling a global conference send to investors and the international community?
I really don't know whether you can stretch it to that. I don't know if you can stretch it to that. I think we tend to mix up issues sometimes. The people that are coming to invest here are interested more in the legal regime than the social issues of the country. Homosexuality is a social issue. An investor is interested in whether or not he can come and make a profit. That's his benchmark. Okay? Otherwise, we have communities here which are largely polygamous. Are you saying that investors will say, I can't come there because banganikwatirire mukazi wanga into a polygamous arrangement of my daughter? The answer is no. So, investors, I think, will still come because they can still come and make a profit. Even when you have criminalized or you still criminalize homosexuality. Yeah.
Let's touch on the issue of the rule of law and governance in this country, especially that, we are in an election year, 100 years, 100 days away from the election day. Is the rule of law in Zambia being applied equally? This has been a topical issue for quite a long time, or is it increasingly influenced by politics? Now, I would also want you to, in line with this, comment on the fact that there is a debate around members of parliament who have publicly declared that they have actually joined
UPND.
The UPND. And whilst parliament is still on, it's not dissolved, and there are issues of did they cross the floor or not?
Yeah. I wrote a podcast. I actually ran a podcast on that. What do rules mean for an institution, for a country? And the theme of my podcast, the lessons we can learn from the Roman Republic, I think was the title. You'll find it on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook page. The theme of that podcast was this, that every institution, every country that has decided deliberately or inadvertently to put aside rules, okay, that country has collapsed in the end. That institution has collapsed in the end. And I gave examples of why UNIP today is in extinction and does exist only by name, why MMD today is in extinction, why PF today is facing total collapse, and why UPND is at the risk of ending up in the same situation if it doesn't learn lessons from the past. Okay? There's a court judgment, a constitutional court judgment, that in 2020, prior to the 2021 elections, or 2021, MPs did not leave Parliament or leave their seats. Cabinet ministers continued to be in office. And the Constitutional Court that said, pronounced itself very well that that stay was illegal and that they must pay back that money.
Right.
And the judgment came out when UPND was in power. Okay? Surprisingly, with that judgment, the UPND today doesn't see anything wrong with members of Parliament that are sitting in the House after they have publicly declared that they have joined the UPND. Legally, that they have crossed the floor. Okay? The Constitution says that there shall be no by-election. 90 days, I think, before elections. There will be no by-election. That is true. But the principle of crossing the floor still remains. Now, here are the ramifications. It means all the bills, in my view, that have been passed with the participation of these members of Parliament are illegal. They are void at law. It means all the emoluments that they have been paid, this group, they will have to pay it back. They have to pay the emoluments back in the future. Forget about UPND. They can be in the comfort zone now with UPND, but UPND will not be there forever. Okay? So what they have done is actually criminal. Obtaining money by false pretenses. You are getting paid, purporting that you are a member of Parliament for PF when you have joined UPND. It's criminal. But because UPND wants the numbers, they don't see this as a wrong. They saw it as a wrong with the PF. They don't see it as a wrong now as it is taking place under their watch. So, what happened to PF cabinet ministers is the same thing that is going to happen to these PF / whatever / UPND members of Parliament. The same. Now or sometime in the future. So I take comfort myself, Zach, that time renders justice. Okay? You just have to sit back. And time will render justice. In this matter, HH will not be there. UPND probably would have collapsed if they continue with this breach of rules. They'll go the same way that PF went. And these members of Parliament will be individuals. They will not even be in power. Most of them will be poor men, because that's what we have seen. You are only rich when you are in Parliament. When you come out of there, navasirini yonse ikanga umeso ungena. And they will be called upon to account. So I take comfort myself that I have seen this before. And I'm sure if I'm still alive, I'll see it happen again. So what is happening is wrong. It was a wrong under PF. It is still a wrong today under UPND. No doubt about it, and no two ways about it. So the issue of the rule of law touches on matters like this. How you apply the law. Especially where you have a precedent. Especially where you have this matter already canvassed before the courts of law. The courts have pronounced themselves, laid down the principle, and that principle is still applicable to everybody. But because these guys are pronouncing themselves as members of your party, they are exempted, from the law. Now, the law is not owned by UPND. No. The law is owned by us, the people. That's why when PF went, they left the law behind. And the law was applied to those that had breached the rules. So UPND the same, will go, and the law will raise its head. So, Zach, I'm not worried myself about things like this. I know that time will remedy this kind of wrong.
But the fact that you have declared intention to run in this year's election, surely if some of these things that you are observing are not the right things that should be done by a ruling party.
Yeah.
What is it then that you anticipate should UPND win this election in their second five-year term?
Look, it doesn't matter, but that's the point I'm actually making. It doesn't matter whether UPND wins or not. Okay? In my last podcast, episode 24, I dealt with the issue of the fatalism of power.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that?
Yeah.
The theme of that podcast is that, firstly, those that have taken time for granted, those that have taken the people for granted, that they can do what they want and what they wish to do, have ended up paying a price at the end, especially when what they are doing is wrong. And the example that I gave for Africa is the one of former president of Burkina Faso, Blaise Compaoré. Okay? There's a revolution in Burkina Faso in 1983. Thomas Sankara and Blaise Compaoré, who were childhood friends, come to power. In 1987, Compaoré is bought by the Americans. And he takes part in the assassination of Thomas Sankara. And he remains in power. He's in power for 27 years, 2 decades, almost 3 decades. And in 2014, what does he do? He's so drunk with power now that 27 years is not enough. And he gets his stooges in the parliament. Because most of these guys that are going to UPND now, they have no choice but to behave like stooges. Because they're strangers in UPND. So what claim will they have on UPND? They have not been there all this time when HH and his people were fighting to keep UPND afloat. So the only role they can play is that of a stooge. So Compaoré has this parliament filled with these stooges. And he convinces them, or he directs them, that they must change the constitution and give him another 7 years in power. The people said no. And everybody was shocked. They don't know where the masses of the people came from in Ouagadougou. It was on the day when Parliament had met to conclude the debate on that article. They went and beat up everybody at Parliament, bent down the Parliament building. That was the end of the Compaoré era. He now lives in Ivory Coast in exile. All that he had accumulated in 27 years, he couldn't carry it. And you know what they did next? From Parliament, they went and bent down the house of his young brother. Big mansion that was standing in the middle of Ouagadougou. Bent it down to ashes. The power of the people. So I'm not worried about what is happening. It doesn't matter how long it is going to take UPND to be in power. What is happening is wrong. The people that will not pay for this is those members of Parliament that would have died before they are called to account. But they will have to account for the people's money that they are getting between now or the day when they defected or crossed the floor and the day when Parliament is going to be dissolved. They will pay now. One day they will have to pay for this. Why? Because it is wrong. Commander, nothing else. Not because we don't like them. Not because for any other reason. Because it is wrong. And a wrong is a wrong. It was a wrong under PF, like I've said earlier. It is still a wrong under UPND. And UPND doesn't determine what is right or wrong. That is determined by law. That is determined by social norms of society. So I'm very comfortable myself.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel sorry for them. I laugh as I sit in front of the TV and I see this one being clad in a UPND Chitenge material and another one is clad in a UPND. I say to myself, what Julius Caesar said, oh God, what fools these mortals be. That's what Caesar said. Oh God, what fools these mortals be. How can you be so foolish not to learn lessons from PF? Just because you want to continue in Parliament again.
That said, and I think that the citizens have categorically, put it clearly that they fail to find a distinction between this government and the previous one in a number of things. Some of them are ones that you've just alluded to.
Yes.
But then what would you do differently? Because that's what Zambians are looking for if given power today. And why should citizens trust you and your party as credible alternatives?
Zach, what I am, what I think, how I think, what I've been in public office is all documented. You will not find me waver. I'm very consistent. I differed with Ben Mwinga because of corruption. Okay? I differed with Fisher Male because I told him you can't be using the mayor's car to be taking your wife to a kitchen party meeting. That's not what the rules say. Okay? I disagreed with Mr. Sata when he wanted the HH arrested on very frivolous grounds, if no grounds at all. I told him this is wrong. So, I've been very, very consistent. That is one. Two, I can also tell you this, that I love my country. I'm very patriotic to this country. And nobody can buy me. Nobody can buy that patriotism. So, those that are close to me, they will tell you. Those that have worked with me, they will tell you. In fact, I've heard people saying, oh no, but you see, people don't want to come and join your party. They are not wrong. Because those that know me, they know that I want rules to be observed. And it doesn't matter who you are. So I get disheartened when I see UPND trying to fall into the same pitfalls of PF and hope that they can get a different result at the end of the day. I saw this with the UNIP. I saw this with the UPND. I saw this with the PF. Okay? So, if I were president, I can tell you that would do things differently. Because I have convictions, I don't change. I'm not a chameleon. What I'm telling you today about Gonzalez is exactly what I would tell you tomorrow. Even if somebody came to me, but do you know that they will never give you a visa to go to America? I don't need to go to America to live in this world. I don't need to. So you can't blackmail me with a visa. No. I have a country. I was born here. I'll be buried here. That's where my identity is. That's where my pride is. So I don't have a problem.
Economic Front Party, by name, should be able to give me a very genuine response to my next question. Do you believe that the average Zambian is actually feeling economic recovery now?
No. The answer is no. If you're talking about the average Zambian, the answer is no. Okay? Because most of the foreign direct investment that has come in under UPND has been in the mining sector.
Right.
Okay? And large-scale mining, we believe in the economic front, cannot generate employment for you. And the reason is simple. That large-scale mining is dependent on advanced technology to maximize its profits and minimize the cost of production. Okay? So you have huge pieces of equipment being brought into the country. Some of that equipment can do a job of 100 people. If it's an excavator, it only needs one operator. And with the onset of AI now, you may not even need that one individual. The excavator will be able to do a job without a human being inside. So we believe that it is for that reason that the impact of investment in the mining industry is not being felt by the people. The second thing is that unlike ZCCM, which was owned by the government, and the government got the profits from the mines, and everything, and invested that money into the country, or brought it to be part of the money circulation in the country. That's not what is happening now. These guys are taking all the money that they're making outside the country, pay a bit of taxes, cheat on VAT refunds, and just bring in enough money for their recurrent expenditure. Payment of salaries, or buying, supplies and that kind of thing. Okay? So, under UNIP, the cash cow was the ZCCM, and its consequent effect on the livelihood of the Zambian was felt, because Kaunda got the money from there put it in the economy to improve. You subsidized, healthcare, and the free education and everything. Okay? So the simple answer is no.
This is the Tuesday edition of The Burning Issue here on the Happy Word of 5 FM radio. Our guest today is Mr. Wynter Kabimba, State Council. He is president of the Economic Front Party. And we will be taking your calls on 0955-221515 immediately after this short break. Stay tuned.
We believe.
This is the Tuesday edition of the burning issue here on the Happy World of 5 FM radio. Remember, we are also live on our partner media houses. We are live on BMTV. You can follow them on BMTV Zambia Facebook page, as well as on channel 114 on Topstar. Also live on Katete FM, that is in Katete, literally covering the entire Eastern Province. We are live also in Kabwe Central Province on Spice FM, ZFM in Kapiri, and Platinum Radio in Ndola, and not forgetting also live on Tuta FM in Mansa, Luapula Province, and the Sunga Radio in Senga Hill, Northern Province. And so our guest this morning, remember, is the president of the Economic Front Party, Mr. Wynter Kabimba, ODS, as well as State Council. Now we'll take your phone calls. We would like to hear from you, and the number you're calling us on is 0955-221515. I do have a caller.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to you. Thank you for calling. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
Yeah, this is Hambulo, Zach.
Hambulo?
Yes, sir.
Where are you calling us from, Hambulo?
I'm calling you in Lusaka.
Okay, please go ahead.
Comrade, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Yeah, we are suffering, comrade. With this UPND government that has totally failed to democracy in the country. And all this is what we are saying. And now, I mean, I take the ambassador to American ambassador to Zambia. You know, there's a lot of corruption issues, a lot of issues in that speech. But we are touching him because, you know, the time that he used. He's been raising issues, okay? Our own SIC reported that from 2022 to 2024, 146 billion questions on sectionalized, and yet we are trying to borrow $1.3 billion to stabilize our economy. Today, we are depending on IMF for the stabilization of this economy. Okay? And here people are counting the American ambassador. You don't fight the good that please you. Those are bad manners. You understand? We talk to them that enough resources here. We can get those resources and stabilize our economy. We give away tax holidays to the mining sector. You know, you just need a rate from 6% to 3%. So going about $10 billion, then a man is supposed to come to get IRA. Villages are complaining that they can't get enough taxes. Why? Because this government has given their pay, they're calling that amount of tax holidays. Now government companies are suffering. We can't have free meals in the debt because of this bad government. We can't have jobs because of bad government. All the terrorists are now recruiting teachers. Those are not job creation. Those recruitments have been there this time in memorial. Recruitments are not job creation. Okay, and why you have the two ministries? Teaching and the police. And you are happy that you are recruiting teachers. Job creation is why there is no job. You create a job. For example, PF created Lima. That's job employment. Job plazas. That's job creation. What do you replace that? You are creating jobs.
Hambulo, thank you.
In conclusion,
yeah.
We are saying that this government has failed. UPND got down at the lowest government. Look at the government going under Hakainde. What are you fighting it? Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up, unfortunately. Thank you very much for coming through, Hambulo, from within Lusaka. But we'll take a few more on 0955-221515. That's the number you're calling us on. Good morning.
Order. Francis Mumbu in Pika East. Mwana Mumbu is calling you from Lusaka town.
Francis Mumbu.
Good morning to you.
Right.
And good morning to you, President Wynter Kabimba. How are you this morning?
Good morning, sir. I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Well spoken by Wynter Kabimba, and continue speaking for the nation and giving counsel and advice to the government at large.
Thank you.
Then we make Zambia a better place. You are two patriots, in one or another. So now, the issue I wanted to bring to your attention of Wynter Kabimba is the issue of the registrar. At Park where people want to register their parties, register things here and there. Are the people at the registrar office doing a good job? Or some of the things that Haribarua people are complaining about right now to say, no, they're taking time designation there for certain political parties to be made, to register their affiliations and so on. Are they doing a good job? What advice would you give them the way things are talking now and the tensions that have been there concerning the registration and the ECZ issues here and there. Then lastly, on the issue of the American ambassador, you see, the American ambassador spoke a lot of things which I think government should learn a thing or two, because we've already spoken. The cat, or the mouse is already out of the bag. I didn't depend for the cat to catch. But at the end of the day, learn a thing or two as government. Some of the issues we raised, some issues have been raised before through, the audit and all those kind of things. But at the end of the day, we should clearly say this as Zambians, to say the platform is used. That was totally wrong. You cannot have Zambia's ambassador, Francis Mumbi, Zambia's ambassador to America. He was the first brief minister telling off Donald Trump and his government. You go on the next flight coming to Africa. If you do such a thing, this is Zambia. Now with us, as Africans, our minds have been programmed in such a way by these Western countries. We've been programmed to say, even just running a mine, we can't run it unless Muzungu ndiye abwela. Those are the issues that come out of it. Neo-colonialism. Our minds, yes, political independence has been given, but economic independence has not been given. At the end of the day, we still live in the past where we feel, for as long as the white man is not involved, the American is not involved, the European is not involved, we can't do things on our own. Let us make sure that this time around, Zambia should come first. Not every president that comes there. I know you are Wynter Kabimba, but you don't do that. Most presidents that have ruled this country before, the first thing they're thinking of is to run to America, IMF money, to get money from the World Bank. That's why we're getting it wrong. How do you develop? Chinese, as I conclude, why they developed? They put China first, and the Chinese undertook an economic revolution where, at the end of the day, they made sure that everything was homegrown. Today, China is one of the big powers we're having in the world. So let us change our attitude of xenophobia, fear of failure. We fear things that we don't even look at by Wynter. And then also, Wynter, let me say one last thing. If we had to say all the Chinese should leave Zambia, or rather should leave China and come to Zambia, no Zambians going to China, you'll see how rich Zambia would become and how poor China will be because of the kind of attitude that we have. Believe you me, that's the issue.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Thank you very much. Let me see if I can take one more before you respond. On 0955-221515. That's the Tuesday edition of the Burning Issue if you'd like to take part. And we have a caller. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you. Thank you for calling. Please share your name and where you're calling us from.
Thank you very much. My name is Kepas Mwapem Sonda, an advocate for industrialization and national development, calling you from Kabwe.
Yes, sir.
President Wynter Kabimba, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you, man?
I'm really humbled. Every time I hear your voice on radio, I feel moved and I learn a lot of things from your bank of knowledge.
Thank you.
True to what you've been saying, Honorable Wynter Kabimba. You know, these ambassadors that come to Zambia, the first thing that they do is they bring their credentials to the president, whom they end up insulting when their time for them to leave comes. It's unfortunate. And the unfortunate part is that the opposition in this country would go stand and listen to someone who is insulting your sovereignty.
Can you imagine?
Out of malice and damage, just to damage you, and you are there, and you are saying you want to come and rule this country.
Yes.
In the same way that President Hakainde Hichilema today is being insulted by such ambassadors, it's the same way that even you, when you form government, you'll be insulted. So, Mr. Kabimba, continue telling us the truth, because it's the truth that shall set us free. And Zambia, we only have this one Zambia. I also heard Honorable Wynter Kabimba, someone saying that without a particular individual not appearing on the ballot, then you will not have election. Is that being Zambian? Or is that a particular person in conformity with the constitution of Zambia? Or are they speaking about bringing anarchy in this country? Or they are the kind of opposition? So you people in Zambia, the 21 million Zambians, let us denounce such opposition political people that would want to govern this country by fluke and not using the democratic space that has been given. This country, the president has been saying we need to have a free and fair election. So why can't the opposition and the ruling give the Zambian people a free and fair election when the government which is there today is saying we will have a free and fair election? And whereas the opposition are saying without Wynter Kabimba kubapo pa ballot, Wynter Kabimba abafika kukonka amafunde aiwe charo chirela ndapo ave ndifye mulu wavo elo vambi vangalando kweva ati tatwakakwata elections. But Wynter Kabimba maybe talk about unit, because I know when you're talking, you talk straight. Musheba unit elo vasi wake no kweva takwa elections. Chino chalo takwa elections na vavarela ndo kweva takwa elections. Mushemuli chino chalo atiko ilanda pali elections mu August takwa kabe na totera ba Wynter Kabimba.
Thank you. Thank you, Kefas, from Kabwe. In addition, quickly.
Yes, please.
74 bills need to be enacted in the next 10 days. The question that has been raised is, why are we enacting all these bills now at the tail end of Parliament? And this is being done without broad public and stakeholder consultation.
Yeah. So let me start with that. All of us must show and exhibit our commitment to democracy. And the democracy demands that the people should govern themselves through the elected representatives. But that does not mean that the representatives should substitute the opinion of the people for their own opinion. Okay? Let me say what I said earlier. What you are having now is in Parliament is a group of UPND members of Parliament, including ministers, who were duly elected on the UPND ticket, who sacrificed, some of them, for 23 years since the formation of UPND in 1997-98 to 2021. That is one group. You have another group that has now jumped on a bandwagon. Okay? That is just a group of stooges. Now, you do not have anybody in Parliament now that can say no to anything that UPND is going to bring. And when you exclude the people, then you even make it worse. I'll tell you, for example, I don't agree myself with the bill that has been introduced that former vice president, starting from UNIP, must be paid money. It's ridiculous in my view. Okay? That going back to Ruben Chitandika Kamanga, the first vice president, you must go and look for his family, and grandchildren, and start paying them money. I didn't think that there could be such a bill under HH. Never. Okay? I don't believe that, former chief justices should be paid 80%, of the emoluments of the current chief justice until they die. I don't believe. They were paid their gratuity. They were getting their salaries. Why are you paying them again? To be vice president is a voluntary job. Why should the taxpayers look after you until you die? Why is America, the richest country in the world, not doing that? Why is Germany, the richest country in Europe, not doing that? How can you concentrate on the welfare of a handful of people against the welfare of the majority poor in this country? What morality is there in that bill? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to prove? People are poor. They are living in staggering poverty in this country. And you want to concentrate on a few people. I never believed that HH would do that, to be honest with you. Okay? So, they are rushing these bills because now they realize there is no opposition in parliament. We have a parliament now which is a one-party state parliament under UPND. So you ask yourself a question. Is it because the people that are in parliament today were not there in 1990, 1991 when the Zambian people fought the one-party state? Are we saying that Kaunda was right? It's just that we didn't like his face? Because that's exactly what is happening. Okay? You are concentrating on bills to satisfy small pockets of individuals to the exclusion of the majority Zambians. And you are talking about fiscal discipline. You are talking about this and that. Okay? I think it's not morally right. It may be politically right, but morally it is not right. I'm happy that you have raised that question. I don't think anybody can justify this in a proper manner. That you should be going back to Ruben Chitandika Kamanga's family and say, where are they? Tifuna tibapase Ndarama. Ndarama nizachi is chifuka Bakamanga baneba vice president. And give them, a person to hold a vehicle to be serviced by government and security. And the bill goes forward and goes further and says for the two vice presidents, Inonge Wina and Narumango, you should build them houses. Oh my God. Oh my God. What is the justification for that? When the servants that are working for these people can't even afford the 3 square meals. They can't even afford the coffin for one of their relatives when they pass away. I think it is wrong. But we have a one-party parliament now. Okay? Those political parties, remember, they collapsed their political parties. And now, they want to jump on another bandwagon. Not because they want to represent the people, but because they want to continue living in the comfort zone. So, that would be my position on that. The first caller said, you can't bite the hand that feeds you. I think that philosophy is wrong as applied to this Gonzalez matter. I don't think, Zach, that if I owe you money, you have the right, to come to my house, start insulting me before I pay you your money. I don't think that's what in Congole means. Congole means you come, nicely. Wynter nanga kaja kantu bwanji. So that if it is between you and I told you my wife should not know, my wife won't even know the coded language. That when you come to my house and you start insulting me, and when I ask you, but boss, why are you insulting me? No, because you owe me money. I don't think that I should pay you your money back on top of the insults. I think that's a complaint we have against Mr. Gonzalez. Can you imagine Chibamba Kanyama in the US holding a press conference that America has abducted Maduro and it is wrong? He would be on the next flight. And Trump would probably even close down the embassy, the Zambian embassy in America. Okay? And the reason, they would be right, that he has overstepped. This is a domestic issue between Venezuela and the United States. What has it got to do with it? But kuno, the justification is tikupasani ndarama. So we can insult you as long as tomorrow you come with your bow in hand and you get money from us. I think that's not right. I think those of us that are complaining, that's the basis of our complaint. That yes, maybe Mr. Gonzalez has a point, but he delivered it in a wrong manner. He allowed himself to be misunderstood. I think that is the issue at hand. Okay? So, you see, then we come to the issue of which one of my brothers there has raised
Francis Mwombi,
about this issue of elections, ECZ, Registrar of Societies. I go back to my submission, Zach, that if we are going to be a progressive country that can develop, there must be rules and laws. And all of us must be bound by those rules. And we must abide by those rules. They can't change because of the face of the individual. Okay? We have made the work of the Electoral Commission of Zambia very difficult. You saw what happened at that Mulungushi meeting between the stakeholders and the ECZ. And people were saying, but how come you have invited the two political leaders, to this meeting? We are the legitimate leaders, and not that one, or not that group. Now, that's not the job of ECZ. You can't take your internal party differences to ECZ and ask ECZ to resolve them for you. There are 3-4 factions now in PF. It's not up to ECZ to determine which faction is right or which faction carries legitimacy. That's not the job of the ECZ. It is not even the job of the Chief Registrar of Societies. The job of the Chief Registrar of Societies is to receive documents from political parties, submitted in a proper way. If you have changed the leadership of your party, there must be a resolution of the highest organ of your party or the general conference of that party. So you must take the resolution, and you must also take the minutes of that meeting. And when you do that, the chief registrar accepts what you have taken. So you can't go back to the chief registrar again and say, oh no, but those documents you got, if there is an internal difference, you go to court. The chief registrar of societies is not a court. ECZ is not a court of law. So disputes within organizations, disputes between individuals are settled by the court of law. So you can't say if this one is not on the ballot, there will be no election. So you look at the people and say, who are you? Who are you? Even if that is militancy, it must have some element of discipline. Who are you? That there should be no election on the 13th of August because one individual is not on the ballot. How important is that individual? Ni masobera me tichitai. This is masobera. There's no seriousness. Let's get to issues that really should be worrying this country and keeping all of us awake at night. The honors, how your party stands in terms of leadership, must be determined by the party. Not ECZ, not the chief registrar of societies, not the police. No. By yourselves. And this is what is happening with the PF. They've taken each other to court to go and resolve the issue as to which faction, which group of PF is legitimate. And I think that's how you do it. Okay? So I think this is very important so that we can have a smooth election. Zambians are looking forward to an election. If they want to change leadership, they want to go and change leadership. If they want to maintain this leadership, they want to maintain the leadership. And those of us that would like to participate to help in the change of leadership, we should offer ourselves, but offer ourselves within the framework of the rules and the laws that govern an election. Is that very difficult? I don't think so.
We need to come to a close,
Sure.
Mr. Kabimba. But I think, let me ask you a question. Do you see free and fair election this year? The president has guaranteed free and fair election. But do you agree? Do you see that?
Look, from 1991, if there is anything that the Zambians have come to internalize, is the understanding that they've got the power to change the government in power if they don't like it, or to maintain the same group of people if they like them. So, in Africa, and probably even at the international level, Zambians are one of the groups of people that have come to ardently believe in democracy. And they have done that since 1991 very peacefully. Very, very peacefully. In 1991, we were made to believe that if Kaunda doesn't win, there will be bloodshed in this country. The old man lost, and he conceded defeat. On the 4th of November, Kaunda made his speech at the State House conceding defeat to FTJ. And I remember part of his sentence of that speech: if my best has not met the people's expectations, there is nothing I can do. And he left the State House. Same thing happened when Levy won. Same thing happened in 2011 when Michael Sata won. Same thing happened in 2021 when HH won against ECL. And all these elections have been free and fair. I don't see why it should be different this time around. I don't see why it should be different this time around. So I accommodate this confidence that the elections will be free and fair.
Your concluding remarks.
Even this time around. My concluding remarks, Zach, apart from thanking you for inviting EF, are as follows. That democracy can only grow if it embraces divergent views and opinions. And I like Matty P's, I don't know what you call it, whether it is a mantra, whether it is a slogan for 5FM. Democracy is about tolerating the views of somebody else, even if you don't like them. Okay? All of us must subscribe, to that. Democracy is not about insulting each other on social media. No. It is about carrying on a conversation on social media to exchange views. It's not about should not be about name calling. I feel sad, when I see some of the anger / indiscipline on social media. That you think that the way you make a point is insulting another person. I think that is not right. We all must hold different views, but respect one another for holding those views. That is what democracy is, and that is the reason why the Zambian people rejected the one-party state in 1991. That's why I have issues with those that are defecting, because they are tempting UPND to go back to a one-party state. And mark my word, they are tempting to go back to a one-party state. If we are going to have a parliament of 226 members after the 13th of August, and 220 members are UPND, and only 60 are from the opposition, then you have destroyed democracy. Okay? It will be good for those that will be getting salaries from parliament, but it will not be good for the nation. That's why you have opposition to political parties. I like the new word. I don't know why the media has not carried it. There was a clergyman who introduced a word which I've never thought about, that we should stop calling the other group opposition political parties, because it stokes strong feelings. They should be called the alternative political parties. I think I loved that. That these alternative political parties are waiting to get into government. Okay? So I think we should all embrace democracy, that those who started this journey, they have now passed the baton to us. Not to kill the process, but to enhance the process and make it better. That's my appeal to my fellow Zambians. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for coming and honoring our invitation. We definitely can only wish your party, Economic Front Party, all the best.
Thank you, Zaki, and God bless 5FM. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. To you, our listener and our viewer who followed our conversation today on the Tuesday edition of The Burning Issue. Our guest was Mr. Wynter Kabimba. He is president of the Economic Front Party and, of course, State Council and ODS. Now, remember that we would like to also thank our partner media houses that carried this program live on their various platforms. We are grateful. Now, coming this Thursday for the Thursday edition of The Burning Issue, join Uncle Frank Mtubila, or Ambassador Frank Mtubila, as you may like. He is now the host of the Thursday edition of The Burning Issue. From all of us here, it's take care of yourselves and more so of each other. Bye-bye.
Tune in